Google is once again trying to manipulate Americans. Type mob or mobs into Google and watch what comes up. Do the same on any other search engine. Hashtag nothing to see here. Yes, this is a genuine tweet from Eric Trump. Yeah, that Trump. And he genuinely thought Crunchyroll was covering up protest footage with anime. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the funniest thing I have ever seen when writing a video. I was contacted to work on Marvel actually on their VFX department, but I turned down the role to actually work on Food Fight. What was this video about again? Okay. Mob Psycho is psycho. Genuinely one of my favourite series to come out in recent times for many reasons, and this video will be, of course, explaining these reasons. I won't be showing any spoilers or anything, but I'll try to be as thorough as I can be because this webcomic slash manga slash anime just deserves the attention. And to those who have already watched or read Mob Psycho, I'm still going to be going into the thematic aspects and, just delving in relatively deep, so, there's still a lot here for everyone. I just want to break down how awesome this show is, and like my attention span, I'll keep this brief. So Kageyama Shigeo is a kid with innate psychic powers. Essentially, that's what they call an Esper. Throughout the show, he's trying to control his insanely overpowered ability, and so he interns with probably one of the greatest characters to grace our screens. And obviously, as the story unfolds, Mob discovers more about his abilities and about himself, how dangerous things can get for him, and overall developing his maturity and understanding of the world and the people in it. And I mean, with a sweet little face like that, how can you not love him? See, the beautiful thing about Mob as a character is he's a bit of a wallflower, and unlike a lot of characters who make really annoying decisions based upon their sort of naivety and, newcoming experience of the world, he's actually not like that. He's actually very interesting to follow regardless of how disinterested he may seem at first. Like, the story puts you pretty comfortably in his shoes and why he's the way he is. He's a young kid who doesn't really know what path to take in life. And it's a relatable thing at like any age. And in fact, the name Mob really speaks to the themes of the show. I mean, a mob is basically an entity. It's like an NPC or like an enemy you might kill in Minecraft or something. It's something that doesn't really have any innate personality of its own. Most people know what a mob is, but it's really interesting that this is specifically the nickname of our protagonist. It's like when you hear the season 1 opening, it's called 99, it's a banging song. The opening lyrics by 37 and Junichi Sasaki says, "If everyone is not special, then you can be what you want to be." And then a little later in the lyrics, it basically says, "Mob, why do you want? Mob, what do you want? Mob, who do you want?" It sort of goes on about this aspect of where's he going to go in life? What's he going to do? It's a really interesting take to have on a character because he is essentially nothing. He's a blank slate, and that in itself is the story. It's for him to become his own person. This is kind of like a reflection of One Punch Man. So you have Saitama, who has all this bravado, and he's hilarious, and it's played off for jokes, but he almost has everything set out for him. He's actually trying to push past his limits and find what else he can possibly do, because it's like he's already hit the pinnacle of anything that could be important in this sort of realm, which is being the most powerful superhero. He's constantly looking for someone stronger, whilst Mob takes a more introspective, character-driven approach. See, Mob is really timid. He's almost like the binary opposite of Saitama. He has all this power, but like, he doesn't really know what to do with it. He doesn't, in fact, have any purpose. He doesn't want to get any social standing at first. He doesn't want to use it to do anything more than, what he already does. See, as opposed to One Punch Man, this is a more coming-of-age story where Mob is just trying to grow out of his shell and learn to be more confident in himself. But yeah, he's like the binary opposite of Saitama. He's very withdrawn, very naive, until he meets Reagan. See, with such a character-driven story, it absolutely makes sense to have some fantastic characters. People that challenge Mob's ideas, some that strengthens his mentality through opposition, some that support him. Reagan is a blend of both worlds. On one side, he's like kind of exploitative, and this isn't like a spoiler, you learn this pretty much off the bat, like what he's trying to do with Mob. But on the other side, he's really trying to train Mob and genuinely help him. He sort of transcends from this kind of shady but like lovable mentor to having his own amazing character arc, and just becomes, yeah, honestly, like a much loved character by everyone. He's just incredible. Reagan kind of grows alongside Mob in his own way. They're like the perfect counter couple. It's almost like having a ringleader and, like a puppeteer or someone in their circus, and they're almost trying to, use him in a sense, but they're still trying to watch him grow. It's almost like, I don't know, Pinocchio, if he was friends with that ringleader. I don't know if that analogy works. It's almost like he's trying to show off his performers, but he genuinely wants to help them. See, Reagan essentially teaches Mob to see himself like everyone else, and to treat his power as though it was like a talent or a skill, like swimming or music or whatever. See, he tries to conceptualize his ability in a way that Mob can understand, and obviously not use it to harm others. You know, it's standard mental advice. And all the characters in the show are just great in their own regards. Like, they each have their own sort of weird ideologies, because it is a weird show. But they all make for a really balanced show, like a really good, clean story. Dimple is just an elite side character, and just fully encapsulates, like, the tone of the show, and again, it just gives Mob, like, another perspective, and, you know, someone else to take from and learn from, and also say, no, they can't be doing that. And, you know, this happens with pretty much all the characters in the manga/anime. Now, speaking of the manga, or originally it was a webcomic, let's really just get into the transference of art styles, because that's the main thing that really captures your eye when you watch this. It's one of the earliest difficulties when adapting any type of literature, and whether it be live action or animated, for the most part, the production team needs to retain what made the original work stand out in the first place. Otherwise, you'll just end up with something terrible, and subsequently, people will just scream about it on Twitter. See, Mob Psycho 100 was originally written by one... No, that's his name. One. That's what he goes by, that's his name. Legend says he's only called that because he has one testicle. These are like the only photos I could find. What's he holding in that? Is it like an award? It looks like a bottle of Hendrix. Well, one illustrates evil spirits. I just pour them a little alcohol joke for you. I had to go all the way downstairs to get that bottle just to make that terrible pun. I can't believe it. Obviously, one had a very distinct style when he was originally illustrating Mob. It got noticed on the Shogakukan's Yura Sunday webcomic magazine on April 18th, 2012. That was a really hard word to pronounce. I probably messed it up. Shogakukan. I don't know how to say that. Obviously, people loved the webcomic, it slapped, and, of course, the anime was born. It really stands out from the sort of foundational art style we see on a lot of mainstream shows nowadays. I mean, that style was sort of originated from like the 1960s, so, you know, it's going to sort of live on in that aspect. But this completely switches it up. And a lot of these expressive styles are being adopted a lot more nowadays, which is fantastic because there's so much out there for them to explore and to tell stories with. It's weird though, because one search on Google will tell you that a fair few people aren't too sure about the art style. And for the love of everything, do not let this be a deterrent. The art style is amazing, and if you don't like it, you will probably end up liking it after a few episodes when you see the impact it actually has on the story. Like, let this be a new experience, because I'll admit, like, when I first saw it, I sort of dropped it like after the first episode because I was so unsure about it too. And then after I've seen so many more films and appreciated so many more different things, I came back to it and I absolutely loved it. And that was a while ago now, but I would honestly say just go for it. Like, I came to love it, and I think it was for a really good reason. It's a really nice aspect because it already distinguishes itself from everything else, and by having this minimalist art style, the animators can experiment far more with emotions, you know, exaggerated gags, and controlling different things, different elements, and having way more malleability over everything, especially combat. See, the studio that worked on this anime was Studio Bones, and for anyone familiar with the studio, they know their shit. Like, if anyone here knows Bones' work, which I'm sure a lot of you do, you'll notice their creative and incredible utility of minimalism and cutting things down, but optimizing every single element of the frame. Like in their world, they really use the less is more approach, and they just push the art to its absolute limits. And they use contrast for this, colors, motion, Sakuga, like everything just combined, and it's beautiful. And they've worked on like My Hero Academia, Full Metal Alchemist, Soul Eater, just a bunch of stuff. And logistically, there is a reason for this. You know, animating complex characters is extremely difficult, and you have to burn a lot of money and a lot of time trying to control something that looks so heavily detailed. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing. You don't have to not do it, you don't have to do it, but you really should prioritize the story first over how pretty anything looks. Like most storytellers, not everyone, because everyone has different styles and different things, but usually the rule of thumb is to prioritize, you know, the thematic and the purpose of your work over technical prowess. And one is an author who does indeed want to prioritize the story and just especially the development of his characters. And yeah, there are exceptions, like you can make things really pretty if you have the money for it and, you know, the talent for it, But yeah, the rule of thumb is genuinely prioritise the story. It's not to say there's no exceptions to this, like amazing shows can look pretty or not, it doesn't really matter, but it is very much based on skill and the money involved and what you can really do in a short amount of time and just not spending an obscene amount of money on like one shot. Hey guys, we ran out of budget. Wait, what do you mean? What does he mean? Yeah, no, we ran out. The producer had to send his firstborn to pay for the particle effects. And my god, does Mob Psycho use everything to its advantage to tell its story. Tonally, the art style was just perfect because it's so flexible. And with a story that like 1 second could be calm and funny to just immediately becoming an absolute shock fest, it's amazing because the art and the sort of craziness can accommodate what's going on. There is malleability, there is flexibility. When Mob's emotions change, it's like the entire world around him change with him. The animation can just ramp up in emotional scenes, and it's exaggerated, but it makes it so much more engaging. And this can be helped through the colour palette as well, like the tone can be just insanely vibrant at times, and really punchy, which definitely helps merge the crazy designs one gave the spirits and the psychic effects in the show. I mean, just looking at the opening, you can tell what's going on, and it's nuts. It's crazy. But yeah, when Mob's mentality changes, everything just flips, and shit's about to go down. I think one just has this really good skill at making things as hype as possible. And now obviously there are a lot of comparisons to be drawn from One Punch Man, from the overpowered protagonist to the kind of humour beats and everything like that, and obviously this is because it was written by one, it's the same guy. And the common consensus is if you like One Punch, you'll probably like Mob Psycho, and if you can get past the art style and learn to appreciate it, which I think everyone should, I think you'll have a good time. Like, I personally love Mob a lot more than One Punch Man, and I have a special place in my heart for One Punch because it's like one of the first things I watched, but I don't know, Mob just seems so much more character driven and there's a lot more personality to the story. Yeah, I think I just like it purely because of its writing, and it really sells itself as a complete separate entity to One Punch Man. I think One just really likes putting the number 1 in the names of his shows. But going back to Reagan, how he teaches Mob is really interesting because he says he isn't special. See, a lot of the time the story really hammers in this idea of hard work and improvement, and it's something that's kind of shielded out to us from a lot of shonen anime, but this is a little bit different. And this is because why would someone need to improve themselves if they're already so innately powerful? Well, it's because they're human. And that's the grounded aspect about this. Mob is human, he has flaws, and he has desires, and all really what Mob wants to do is just talk to a girl he likes, get out of this sort of zone of shyness and actually be a bit more extroverted. And it's just this, like, no matter what abilities and how powerful Mob is, he has to adapt to a normal way of living and really appreciate the aspects of just everyday life and how to deal with them, and then, deal with his own issues a bit later on down the line. It actually incorporates a lot of slice of life elements in the show, and I think it touched me because I really like slice of life anime. Most of Mob's issues are pretty similar to everyone else's, bar certain things which I won't spoil because yeah. But it really is worth watching. You get to see this kid grow as a person in a really organic way, and having a kid trying to live with this power brings along some really amazing adolescent storytelling beats. And for such a crazy story, the themes are really grounded, and I think this is what complements it so much. It's so complete. It really brings, this craziness and wild sort of aesthetic and appearance to the show, and sort of pulls it back down to the ground and makes it very real, very human. And yeah, just with all these amazing elements combined, it makes for just such a beautiful, really heart-touching series and a story, and I think it's something everyone should really try watching or reading. And to add a little spice, if you haven't watched Season 1 and you finish it, Season 2 will blow you away, because Season 2 solidifies the show as like a goated series. Like, Season 2 is unbelievable, and of course, anyone that's already seen it knows. And of course, Season 3 is now out, and the finale is out, and I think, everyone should really finish this story because it is now a complete product. So it really gives you more of an inclination to actually finish it because it is finished. But yeah, that's all I really have to say before I go into stuff I shouldn't. I want you to experience that for yourself, whether you have already or haven't. Check out this show, appreciate this amazing story, this masterpiece, and thank you so much for watching this video. Feel free to subscribe. I'm trying to hit 1k, very big milestone, but let's just do it, let's go for it. Probably won't happen, but let's just keep going. But yeah, thank you so much, and take care.